everybody, my name is Luke Marr and this is Hot Lamode, and today on Hot Lamode we are getting into the SAG Awards 2021. This is gonna be a roast. Like, I genuinely actually think that this has changed my whole demeanor from being like super nice quarantine Luke to I can't believe that this is a hot goddamn mess and this is what we're calling the SAG Awards this year. It was terrible, it was hideous, it was boring, it was uneducational, it was depressing, sad, lonely, disturbing, isolating. It was the no-taste symptom of coronavirus incarnate. It was just bad. It was bad. That's what it was. So buckle in, cause like, I am. So first up is Amy Adams, and she is wearing Celine. Now this must be a custom gown by Eddie Slimane at Celine. It's a black gown. There's a one sleeve moment going on here, and you can see at the end of the sleeve there are two little gold buttons, which to me means that this is probably a take on tailoring a suit jacket and sort of turned into a gown. Now listen, I think the fit is like fine. I think it's good. Also, it's a red carpet look, so fit is sort of important. A fit being fine is good, but it's not something to like write home about. It fits well, and that's kind of important. That's kind of your job, so I'm not giving credit where it's due here. This is credit where it's expected to happen. I'm looking at the collar, and I feel like it might be wrapped around almost like a take on a double-breasted suit jacket, but I can't see any lapels, so then it sort of takes away my idea of the dress being a take on a blazer. But overall, I think it's fine. I do think there's some interest in the singular sleeve with the gold button, which sort of references back to Eddie's very classic sort of commercial takes on fashion. I think it fits well enough. I'm not mad about that. Overall, it's like boring, but it's fine, I guess. Next up is Anya Taylor-Joy, and she's wearing Vera Wang. Anya Taylor-Joy has really been on it this whole award season, and like, this is not cutting it. Listen, it's obviously some sort of take on like a negligee, lingerie, slip dress. There is black lace that comes in at the bust, and it sort of falls down almost to the waist, which in reality does help to sort of like create shape there. Also, part of the slit is trimmed with black lace as well. I wish that both straps of the dress had had the lace applique on it, because it just would have made it more symmetrical and more together. Whereas I feel like we're really heavy on one side. So the slit is on one side, the strap with the lace is on one side, and then the other side's kind of like blah. And like, that's not, we need to even these things out, you know what I mean? I think the color is really, really great because it does actually blend into her skin really, really well. Credit where credit is due in that regard. The colors really match up super duper well. Unless you're looking very closely, you might not actually be able to tell where the end of her skin is and where the start of the dress is when it comes to the neckline, which I have to say is definitely a feat, and definitely want to shout out Law Roach for that. I'm also not super duper mad about like the swag of fabric. It makes the slit actually a little bit more interesting than just a slit right up the leg, which is how a lot of designers go. Overall, I do not think by any stretch of the imagination this is the most interesting Anya Taylor-Joy look we've ever seen, but I do think there are nice little moments in it that sort of keep it afloat and keep it not super duper boring, especially when it comes to something that you feel like you've seen in terms of a slip dress with lace. Next up is Carey Mulligan, and she is wearing Prada. Now, it's a very simple dress for Prada. I think when we think about Prada, we think of prints, embellishments, styling that's crazy and ridiculous and over the top. And to me, this sort of has references or inspiration back from very early Prada collections, whether it's the early 90s into like the late 90s, the late 80s. That's sort of what I'm getting here. It's very Miuccia Prada back to her roots. And listen, the front is a white sort of strapped gown. It looks like there's some sort of pleated detail there that is trying to keep some sort of interest. Is it keeping the interest? I wouldn't say so. But I do think that the black skirt at the back and the backless detail overall is very interesting to me. I do like the fact that we can see sort of simpler styles from Prada a lot of the times, as we just said. It's very in your face, very over the top, very sort of conceptual and intellectual. Whereas here, this is just sort of like a nice dress. It definitely has some sort of interest because you do have the sort of white in the front, black in the back, but The backless detail also reminds me a lot of Miuccia Prada's work. She really does like to expose the back, and you can see it throughout 30 years plus of collections that there just are moments throughout where it's backless, but it's really subtle. Here, I feel like this is just a nice little nod back to a really subtle Prada-ism that probably doesn't get as much love as, you know, embellishments or crazy prints. So there, I think it's fine. Overall, I don't really think it's that interesting. I don't really think it's that exciting. If you don't know about those little tiny subtle Prada details, it's pretty blasé. So overall, I'll take it, but I don't want to. It's like a gift that you got where you're like, thank you so much. It's just what I always wanted. And then you get home and you're like, what do I do with this? Where can I drop this off? Next up is Cate Blanchett, and she is wearing Givenchy, which is by Matthew Williams, who is the founder of Alix. Listen, it's a black suit with a white button-down shirt, and it has some sort of metal belt. I'm not really that mad about it. I'm not like, oh my God, this is, you know, magical, this is amazing. It's a nicely tailored suit. There's a white shirt underneath, and the chain belt, I think it's fine. I think it's good. I think it works. I think it's Matthew Williams' sort of style. Do I obviously want more from Givenchy? Absolutely. But at the same time, to me, this is Matthew Williams. I don't like when Matthew Williams tries to do John Galliano or tries to do Alexander McQueen or Claire White Keller or whoever. I like when he just does what he does, which is nice tailoring. He makes menswear sort of looks, that's his go-to, and I feel like this is that. I also feel like it's a good nod back to Hubert de Givenchy. Hubert was not some crazy revolutionary designer. He made nice separates. This is nice separates. So like, let's not try to overcomplicate something that was never really overcomplicated to begin with, you know what I mean? So I'll take this Cate Blanchett moment because to me this is actual like Givenchy-esque. And I can't ask for anything more than Givenchy-esque from Givenchy. Next up is Catherine O'Hara, and she is wearing Thom Browne, and I want to shout out her stylist, Andrew Gelwicks, because like, this is beautiful. This is what we need. This is what we want. This is one of like the most exciting looks of this whole night. This is like a full dress, I believe. Let's break down this look. There is a waistcoat in white, which I sort of love because obviously it's a take on a waistcoat, which is part of sort of tailoring and traditional suiting and corporate wear, which Thom Browne really loves to do. But it does have boning throughout, which is definitely a reference back to sort of corsets and, you know, styles of ye old eras, which I do think is really, really fun. And I love the way that Thom Browne always cuts up sort of old, crazy, different, ridiculous styles and then brings them into sort of modern corporate culture wear. There's a white shirt underneath with a black bow tie, or maybe that's not even a black bow tie because it's not around the neck and it looks like maybe it's some sort of black detail on the shirt, which would make you believe that it's a black bow tie, which is then like a trompe-l'oeil bow tie, which again, very fun, very exciting. And then there is a black sequined skirt, and I believe that it has a black sequin matching jacket. And to me, this is a sort of fun take on a tuxedo for, you know, formal wear. I really love it. It definitely defies the odds and the notions of the traditional three-piece suit and brings it into a corporate sort of style, but at the same time has more of a feminine flair. Also, I think the black and white is a perfect nod back to Moira Rose, who Catherine O'Hara plays brilliantly. I mean, David, I'm wearing Thom Browne. That is what I want. That's what I need. The black and white, I think it's perfect. I think it makes so much sense. I think Thom Browne and Catherine O'Hara, especially when it comes to the Moira Rose era, is brilliant. I think that's what we should have been getting for literally every single award show and every single red carpet. It just makes a lot of sense. So overall, I'm obsessed with this. I think this is brilliant. I think this is a great nod to the character. I think this is a great nod to one of Catherine O'Hara's best performances in my humble opinion. So I love it. Next up is Cynthia Erivo, and she is wearing Alexander McQueen. It's a very simple dress. In reality, there's not like a lot of bells and whistles. It's not really crazy. I think it's very romantic. I also think it's very plain for what Cynthia Erivo has sort of been giving us throughout this entire award season. And she's not just like doing movie or TV. She's doing music. She's doing all of it. She's getting all of the awards. She is showing up. She's giving you red carpet moments at every single turn in the bend. Honestly, considering everything we've gotten so far, which for the most part has been very daring, very bold, very out there, very over the top, avant-garde. I actually think that having a nice sort of simple style from her is really, really lovely. Now, I believe this is a take on a spring 2021 look. I think the spring 2021 look was in more of a pink, and this to me has more of like a beigey sort of feel, a taupe, if you will. Honestly, when you look at the construction of a McQueen garment, like that is what is very important here. So the bust, I think it fits phenomenally. I think it looks beautiful. I don't think there's a seam out of line here. And I think that's what's important, especially about a very simple piece, is it has to be done perfectly. I learned that from the Great British Bake Off. If you're gonna do something simple, make sure it is the best simple thing somebody has ever tasted. And I'm tasting this and it's very, very good. Honestly, the way that Cynthia is wearing this gown compared to the lookbook image, I actually think is much, much better, because when you have the corset, it hits right at the waist and then it falls into all of these sort of ruffles and flares, and they create these sort of go-day styles that join on top of each other, which in reality is really, really lovely. But you know, there is that sort of beautiful straight corset that's rigid and sort of there, and then bam, it's all full of fluff and floof, which not my favorite thing. I like for them to gradiate into each other. It feels much more seamless. But I do actually think that it's kind of lovely. It creates an interesting sort of shape. It definitely is very, very simple. It's definitely very, very commercial. I think brands like Alexander McQueen are trying to make sure that they're making pieces that are actually shoppable for their customers, especially with, you know, the pandemic and everything that's going on. I'm also pretty positive that Sarah Burton, who is the creative director of Alexander McQueen, was utilizing old fabrics from within the studio, which she's sort of really been pushing to make sure that a lot of the work that she is doing is actually being conscious of the environment and waste and all of those sorts of things. So in reality, it's a very, very simple gown, but I think in concept, that's what it was meant to be. And I think it's a really beautiful yet simple gown. So hats off to Cynthia Erivo, because honestly, it's just like another check in the boxes of, we go from avant-garde to really beautiful and simple and classic and elegant, and she does it oh so well. Next up is Dan Levy, and he is wearing the Row. I actually can't tell from what collection this is from, but Dan Levy doesn't let himself be stopped. He's going. He's on a roll. So it's a cream suit. It's double-breasted. It has a long, unfinished pant. It sort of crunches at the bottom, which I think is really, really hideous, and like we're still back into that wide leg pant arena, and I don't really know why, because it's just, I don't think it's cute. I don't think it works. I don't think it's very flattering. But there's a brown shoe there. I can't tell if it's like more of a slipper or a shoe, but it gives me more slippery sort of vibes. I like the tie. I do, because it looks less like a tie and more like a sort of ribbon or some sort of dinner napkin, but I like it. I'm interested in it. I think it's fun. I do think the little flower lapel brooch adds just a little bit of funky feeling to it. The white shirt underneath, I think, you know, allows the actual cream to sort of pop a bit more, especially when it comes to the handkerchief napkin necktie. Overall, I'm not obsessed with it. It's not my favorite Dan Levy look, but I appreciate taking a sort of little bit of a calculated risk here. In the future, I want to go back to like the really exciting, fun Dan Levy looks, but I also like that Dan is sort of supporting brands like the Row, which are the ultimate American luxury brand. So I'm happy for that. But overall, not my favorite Dan Levy moment. Next up is Daniel Kaluuya, and I don't understand this at all. I really love Daniel Kaluuya. He's wearing Louis Vuitton. I don't get the purple pajama situation. I'm not understanding it. I don't know why this was a concept that we were going for. Maybe the purple pajama thing is happening because we're stuck at home, COVID, quarantine, and like, if that's the game, okay, fine, go for it. I do see the stripes throughout the entirety of the look, which to me, again, is a sort of reference to those stripes from old Louis Vuitton trunks, the sort of second Louis Vuitton era, at least trunk-wise. I will say, I think it works better when you can actually see the colors that reference back to the old Louis Vuitton trunks, not in the purple. I don't think the purple is nearly as flattering. To me, it looks like Daniel Kaluuya heard something outside when he was sleeping in his full like night ensemble, put on whatever shoes he could find and ran out the house to see what it was. And that's the vibe I'm getting here, and I don't love that. The shirt, you know, it's a pajama shirt, so it's gonna be big, it's gonna be baggy. The pants, also gonna be baggy. And the night robe sort of coat, again, big, baggy. Overall, don't love it. Listen, if Louis Vuitton sent you that and you said, I'm gonna go to sleep in this, that's great. Love that for you. I don't have to see that because normally people don't post their pajamas on Instagram. But this as red carpet look, no bueno, not good. And then on top of that, the shoes are hideous. I don't know why we couldn't have put on like a sneaker, why we couldn't have put on like a sandal, why we couldn't have put on something that, you know, maybe actually makes a little bit more sense than a black sneakery loafer. I'm not understanding. It's hideous. It's not cute. It doesn't look good. And I'm sure that that silky purple fabric is really beautiful to the touch, but I can't touch it, so it does nothing for me. Overall, Daniel Kaluuya, this is not it. Let's never do this again. Let's never speak about this again. Burn this. Thank you. Next up is Eli Goree, I'm not sure, but he's wearing Emporio Armani. It's a black pair of pants, a black button-down shirt, which I always do like a black button-down shirt, I have to say. Maybe it was like the Italian Sweet 16s in Staten Island that really put me on to that, but I've always been fond of a black button-down. This silver jacket with the black lapels, the sequiny, glittery fabric, it's not cute. It's not good. It looks like you got it at Armani Exchange. And when I say Armani Exchange, I mean exchange the jacket because it's not cute. He looks like Dapper, I guess, but Dapper doesn't do anything for me, unless you're Dapper Dan. But besides that, this isn't even giving me Dapper Dan vibes, which is not helping. Overall, it's just blah, and I would like better because I've seen Riverdale. He's very interesting. Mad Dog. I appreciate it. I know these things. Let's get mad about this look and dog your stylist to get something better, right? Okay, cool. Thank you. Next up is Elle Fanning, and she is wearing Gucci. Now, this is a striped two-piece set. It is orange and what looks like pinky sequins, which honestly, I'm not super duper mad about. This definitely does have like an old sort of feel. It definitely has like a 1960s, 1970s sort of style in my head. Maybe not the cut of the garment, but the use of the stripes with the colors pink and orange. It definitely feels a little bit more mod to me. I will say, I think it fits well. Yeah, you know, I can't see the full look, which is always a disappointment, but I think it fits well. I definitely think it ties into Alessandro Michele's work and his style and his aesthetics, which can't fault him for that. I definitely think it's different than, you know, the normal sort of Elle Fanning looks as well, which I also like a little bit of a, you know, different moment from Elle. I think that's fun. Overall, it definitely is like throwing me for a loop, so I'm not mad about it. I'm also not obsessed with it either. I think it's sort of making me ponder, which isn't always a bad thing. So I'm fanning Elle Fanning. I'm not standing Elle Fanning, just fanning Elle Fanning. Next up is Emma Corrin, and she is wearing Prada. Now, I don't like it. Personally, I think this is probably referencing the fall 2020 Prada collection, which to me was like a hodgepodge of Prada references, whether it was lace, military-inspired aspects, you know, shirting. There was embroidery and embellishments and all of that sort of stuff going on there too. So let's break down the look. Essentially, you have a sort of gray slip dress. We saw this actually pretty recently on one of the Haim sisters, I feel like in a Vogue video. It has that sort of lace, silky, slippy sort of moment going on, and honestly, as like a singular dress, I actually really like it. I think it's very, very sweet. But what happened with Prada is we hodgepodge. We take something from this, and we take something from that, and we collage it all together. So you have a sort of blue men's shirting sort of sleeve moment going on here. It has some sort of silver embellishments, which is a Prada-ism, always trying to up the ante, make embellishments, embroideries, etc., more modern. So that's what I think is going on there. You also have a sort of military green pleated section of a half skirt that sort of is tied into a black waist belt. Now, this waist belt, I'm pretty positive we saw first during the Prada Spring 2021 collection. I've seen these belts in person and like they're quite heavy. They're like definitely metallic, so it's not like a sort of plasticky, Velcro-y sort of moment going on. It's thick. But overall, it's a little bit too much for me. I understand it's Prada, that's great, that's wonderful, but at the same time, it's too much Prada. Of course, I like subtle details. I like the lace on the dress. I like the little flower details in silver. I like the belt, sort of, kind of. But when you hodgepodge all of these moments together, it's not great. It's not wonderful. It's not really selling me on the garment. Of course, I like to see Emma Corrin in those chunky ass Prada black boots, but even then, it doesn't keep me in love and or obsessed. My thing is, I really like the new Raf Simons and Miuccia Prada moment that is going on, and I feel like referencing a collection that is from like fall 2020, pre-Raf Simons, is not exactly the smartest moment for Prada to be doing on the red carpet. It's nice sometimes when it works and when it's a good look, but when it's not a good look, I'm like, you should have just done the recent stuff. Because there's definitely nice looks from fall 2021 that could have definitely started to get, you know, a little custom red carpet experience, you know what I mean? And this, as much as I appreciate the risk, it's not good. It's rough. Objectively, it's bad. Subjectively, I'm kind of like, okay, it's Prada, fine. But like objectively, no, we're good. Thank you. Have a good day. Next up is Gillian Anderson, and she's wearing Dolce & Gabbana, and so for that, trash. Let's move on. Next up is Glenn Close, and she is wearing Oscar de la Renta. And honestly, it's very simple. It's very sort of casual. It's not really that casual. It's more casual for red carpet, I would say. It has a full sort of pleated moment. It has a high neckline, which I think is really, really lovely. I like the pose because I can't really see what's going on with the silhouette of the dress, but to me, it has more of like a caftan sort of robe-y feel, which is something that Fernando Garcia and Laura Kim have been doing quite a bit at Oscar de la Renta. Overall, it's fine. I like Glenn Close. I like red dresses. I like Oscar de la Renta. So it's fine. Next up is Jamie Chung, and she is wearing Oscar de la Renta. Now, she's wearing a simple sort of red dress. It has a low plunging neckline, and it's off the shoulder and full of fabric flowers, which is very Oscar de la Renta-esque. That makes a lot of sense. But I think the most important aspect of this look is her bag, which says Stop Asian Hate. If you guys do not know, here in the United States, there has been a wave of attacks on the Asian American community. It's really disgusting. It's really disheartening to watch, and it shows that here in America, racism is very much so alive and thriving, and it's something that we need to all make sure that we are ruining, disregarding, getting rid of, and re-educating ourselves about biases against the Asian community, especially with COVID and the way that the far right in this country has essentially blamed the Asian community, which just makes no logical sense, but welcome to White Supremacy 101. So honestly, I'm happy that Jamie Chung is like putting this out there, that this message is getting across and that it's coming across on red carpets. Listen, red carpets, of course, are about the fashion and the beauty and the glamour and all of that sort of stuff, but red carpets are also about making a statement, and a statement should also sometimes be very, very important and very culturally relevant to what is going on in the world, in a country, in a place, at a time, and this to me is very much so that. This is amazing that she's taking that opportunity to say, stop Asian hate. We need to address this issue. This needs to be discussed. And it does need to be discussed. It does need to be fixed. We need to make sure that we are doing everything in our power to support the Asian American Pacific Islander communities, because they are being truly affected by this. And we need to get this shit together, because it's not cute. It's gross. It's so sad. It's disheartening. And we need to make sure that we are all together putting ourselves into a place and a mindset that stops and does not allow these racist moments to happen. And from the very smallest moment of microaggressions, those things lead to violent attacks on Asian American and Pacific Islanders in this country. So any moment that you hear something that doesn't sound right, doesn't sound good, sounds racist, snap it in the butt. Say something. Make it known that you do not agree, and make it very clear that those things are wrong and that they're not funny, they're not cute, they're gross, and they're disgusting. Shout out to Jamie Chung. I actually think the look is really, really nice, and it has a beautiful message as well, which is always very important. Next up is Jared Leto, and he is wearing Gucci. Now, this is a double-breasted, I'm gonna go with a lavender. I'm gonna say lavender. This is lavender-esque. It's a sort of 1970s suit. There's a big, thick, long suit jacket. There's a flared pant, which seems to be just like a real Gucci thing now, is it's just flare pant after flare pant after flare pant. And like, listen, everybody likes the 70s. It's great. But Alessandro, push it out a little bit. You know, I know it's definitely sort of central to the brand of Gucci. I mean, it wasn't started in the 70s, but between the drama of the Gucci family in the 70s to Tom Ford's bringing back the 1970s in the 1990s through his work at Gucci, to Alessandro Michele referencing the 70s as well, it's definitely central to the brand, especially fashion-wise. So I get it, I respect it, I understand it, but I also want like a little bit more, you know what I mean? I don't want to see it every single time. I will say I do like the shirt underneath. It's a nice sort of sheerish button up. It looks very, very nice. There's a little silk tie handkerchief, which to me also plays into the history of Gucci. You know, the floral silk bandanas and handkerchiefs and not necklaces, scarves were very central to the brand and made the brand a lot of money early on. So it all makes sense. I also think that the little clam bag is cute. I'm not mad about it. Overall, I think that the use of color, and the reference is back to Gucci's heritage. Save the look, otherwise it'd be a little bit, I've already seen it. Next up is Josh O'Connor, and he is wearing Loewe. Listen, I'm at the place with Josh O'Connor where it's like, okay, Loewe again. Let's do something a little bit more interesting. My thing is, Loewe actually like makes very interesting clothing, and so while yes, it's great to see a nice suit on a red carpet, I expect like something of interest, especially when you're getting it from Loewe. Loewe isn't just like, oh, nice tailored suit. Loewe is like interesting, sculptural, silhouette, texture, like color. That's what Jonathan Anderson at Loewe does. So I'm kind of expecting that from Josh O'Connor a little bit. I want him to step outside of like his comfort zone, which is Prince Charles vibes. You know what I mean? Like the Durrells of Corfu. Like I want a little bit more from Josh here. I want a little bit of excitement. I want a little bit of drama. Cause listen, a 3-piece suit in brown is not that great. It's not that exciting. It's not that fun. It's nothing to write home about. So that needs to be fixed because I'm bored. Next up is Journey Smollett, and she is wearing Zuhair Murad. Now this is from, I believe, the Resort 2021 collection. Listen, it's a high-low ball gown style. I think it fits her really, really well. I also feel like Journey is sort of like on her journey to stardom. I feel like her in Lovecraft Country was like sort of her first big role. So this is really like her first sort of red carpet outing, in my opinion, not her first actual red carpet outing, but her first season in my thought process, because I haven't seen much of her in this before. But I do have to say, I like seeing the range. I feel like we've had her try to sort of do like a little bit more avant-garde, a little bit more daring, a little bit more like fashion. And I feel like here she's going for more sort of classic, clean, really simple, very elegant. And I think it works here. I think the bust fits beautifully. I like the off-the-shoulder style. I like the neckline. I feel like the plunge is kind of sweet. It's a little bit daring, but at the same time, it like is a little bit restrained. I do think the color looks stunning on her. I'm not mad about the high-low style. I feel like high-low dresses were out for quite some time, but I'm never really mad to see them, especially when you wear a cute shoe. That always helps. Overall, I feel like it's a nice look. Is it revolutionary? No, but the simple yet effective is not a problem if you don't do it all of the time. And I feel like this is, you know, the first sort of simple yet effective moment we're getting from her, and I'm happy about it. Next up is Kaylee Cuoco, and she is wearing Prabal Gurung. I like this strapless gown. I do. I think it's very, very sweet. I feel like the cut is really, really lovely. It flows so beautifully. It definitely has like a bouffant sort of shape. I also like the fabric flowers on it. We saw that in Prabal's Fall 2021 collection, these sort of big, bold fabric flowers. And here they're not like blah. Sometimes a fabric flower is a little bit, but these are like big. They're like chrysanthemums, but like exaggerated. And I think it's really, really sweet. I like the one on the front. You know, I think it adds a little bit of texture there. You could remove it if you're really like trying to think about it. But I feel like the fact that you have the off-the-shoulder sleeves that are also partially fabric flowers allows the one in the middle to sort of stay around. I think the color is really, really lovely, and I just kind of can't get over the shape of that skirt. I just think it's a really sort of beautiful cut. I think it's really bold. I think it's really fun. It's definitely on the side of simple, but it has a little bit of sort of spice, a little bit of interest, a little bit of something going on there that you want to look at a little bit more. So overall, I'm happy about this. It's not the most revolutionary thing in the entire world, but I think it's good. Next up is Catherine Drysdale, and she is wearing Jenny Packham. Now this is a full loofah tulle gown in a very, very light purple. Honestly, we've seen these dresses before. They're like tiered cakes of tulle. That's fine. It's blah in that regard. You know, it's nothing revolutionary. It's nothing crazy. It's nothing we haven't seen before. I do think it's nice. You know, again, not crazy, not over the top. I've seen it a million times at this point. So I'm sort of used to it. I sort of at this point feel like tulle is almost like a normal fabric now. Thank you, Molly Goddard, for that. But overall, it's there. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I think the color is really, really sweet. I wish we'd get rid of like the loofah fake bolero. That one's a little bit confusing. Overall, it's there. So it's fine, I guess. Next up is Kelvin Harrison Jr., and he is wearing Gucci. And honestly, it's a suit, and suits are kind of boring in my opinion, but I do think the color is nice. I like the fact that there's a pinstripe moment going on. I like the fact that it's double-breasted, and I like the fact that we are going back to the old Alessandro Michele Gucci little pussy bow blouse. I think about that men's spring 2015 Gucci collection that he did often. I think it was like a turning point in the mid 2010s for fashion, from very minimal to very maximal. And so honestly, I'm not really mad about it. I'm not dying over it, but I like the fact that it's a suit, it's there, but it's pinstriped with a nice light blue color. It has a pussy bow blouse. It's definitely doing formal, but it's not doing boring. And I think that's important. Next up is Kerry Washington, and she is wearing Etro. I love this. Here's my thing about a lot of these red carpet moments is it has to have a storyline in there. Like, you're home. You have photographers, you have, people sending you custom gowns, you have stylists. Like, you can build a storyline. To me, Kerry is doing storyline. She is giving me those, synchronized swimmers that jump into the pool with, the little swim caps and all that. So this is an Etro gown. It is full of this beautiful blue embroidery. I mean, she is literally in what I presume is either a saltwater and or chlorinated pool. And in that regard, that dress is not gonna look the same when it comes out of there. So Etro knew what they were getting into. But again, I think this is worth it. Swirls and full embroidery. Like, it's a stunning embroidery. It's really, really beautiful. There's so much handcrafted work, I'm sure, that went into it. And then as it gets to like the thigh area, it sort of then dissipates from being really full and sort of thick of these embroideries to like flowing out a little bit more. So I feel like we're going from solid to liquid, and I like it because it definitely is fun. It allows the style and the motif and the embroidery to gradiate in a nice way. I think that's important. I think the straps at the back add a little bit of excitement. I'm not gonna say they're revolutionary at all, but I do think that it makes it just not a backless dress, which interesting to some. I think the best thing is this hat. I don't know if it's like a hat or it's a swim cap, whatever it is full of this embroidery, and I think it adds to this really gorgeous sort of synchronized swimmer style moment. Listen, it is beautiful. I'm obsessed with it. I think that she killed this. I think that this has storyline. I think it's a beautiful garment. I think it has amazing accessories attached. Honestly, Kerry Washington, beautiful. I'm obsessed. Wonderful. Thank you. Next up is Leslie Odom Jr., and he is wearing Berluti by Chris Van Ash. I actually love this suit. I do. I think it's really, really fun. I think it's really, really different. I have to give credit to Leslie and his stylist. They are definitely pushing the boundaries. They're not afraid to take risks. I think this like color stained, dyed suit is really fun. I like the green. I like the blue. I like the pink. I like that each area also is like strictly one sort of color and they bleed into the middle. So the shoulder and, sort of like sleeve top area is green. One pant leg and one sleeve is sort of pinkish too, and then the other side is dark blue or like an indigo. Honestly, I love it. I like that the turtleneck underneath matches and sort of plays into the green. I think it's really, really fun. I have to say I really respect this. Chris Van Ash, where has this been? Where was this a Dior? Please let me know, because honestly, I want to see more Berluti if this is the moment that's going on. I will say the one thing I cannot stand, and I think kind of kills the look, because otherwise it would be like top 10. It would be A++. Like, it would be hot. But the shoes. A different shoe was needed, something colorful, something that matches this vibe, matches this energy, because the brown shoe does not do that at all. It feels like a disconnect between the shoes and the rest of the suit. So if there was some sort of shoe moment to go and match the energy of the suit, I think we'd be doing probably best dressed of the night. But the shoe kills it. It knocks it off its pedestal. It's getting into second place territory there. So in reality, love Leslie Odom Jr. for the risk. I'm very appreciative of it, and it's made me want to look at Berluti more, which that's a good red carpet moment. Love it, beautiful, except for the shoes, which are ugly. Let's get rid of them. Let's not do that again. Thank you. Next up is Lily Collins, and she is wearing George's Hobika. I believe this is haute couture. So it's a sort of simple, short, cocktail, sunny sort of day dress kind of feel. It's in a light pink, and throughout it is just crazy crystal embellishment. So the collar is crystal embellished, the shoulders are sort of crystal embellished, it's piped at the sleeve in crystals, there's like a whole breastplate of crystals and like a center brooch, there's lines that descend down in crystal form, the pockets have crystal piping, and there's little floral crystals underneath it, and then the hem is just trimmed in crazy crystals. Overall, I don't love it. I don't think it's that exciting. I don't think it's that interesting. I'm sure that a lot of handwork went into it, but there's a lot of handwork that goes into a lot of garments. It's just not that interesting. You know what I mean? Like, the breastplate sort of area is strange and I don't really understand it. I feel like a lot of the embellishments are very heavy, and I feel like they're trying to have a little bit more of like a punky feel to like this pink look, but I don't think it works. I think the crystal piping at the bottom, at the hem, is just not fun. I don't think it's enjoyable. It feels very Emily in Paris, which honestly for Lily Collins, I don't think is like her actual red carpet sort of style. I actually really like Lily Collins. I feel like she actually turns out a look quite often. So this is not good. This, we need to nix that. No more of that. We're done. Next up is Maria Bakalova, and she is wearing Dior. This is from the fall 2021 collection. Okay, listen, on my last video I said I'm getting to like Dior, and then like this dress is like, oh no, I retract all statements I just made. It's definitely a sort of black and sheer tile style. There's red flowers all over it. It looks like your partner tried to do like fancy rose petals on the floor of like a nice, I don't know, chateau or something. And that's what's going on here. Tile style up top, and then it flows. It definitely gets bigger. The tiles get bigger as the train sort of goes. So like, I guess that's interesting. But the red flowers embroidered all over it is not good. I think there's a way to go about fabric flowers. I do. I really genuinely do. And I think we've seen it. I mean, the Jamie Chung sort of like utilizing the flowers as a strap sort of style. The Kaylee Cuoco Prabal Gurung moment also, like utilizing a fabric flower as a way to build a sort of aspect of the garment, I think is really, really interesting. But if you're just using it as adornment on a garment, it has to actually look good and not look like, I don't even know what those look like. It just looks like pieces of, I don't know, tissue paper crumpled up and hot glued on a dress. It just doesn't look good. It's not interesting. It's not understandable. So it's more of a Maria Baca Nova. Thank you. Next up is Mindy Kaling, and she is wearing Alex Perry. I like the top of this. I like the square cut neckline. I think it's very fun. I think it's definitely out there for Mindy. I'm interested in that. I like the sharp shoulders of this little moment, and I like the fact that it has a cape. I think that's really fun. I like a cape on top of a gown. I feel like that's interesting. I feel like it adds a little bit of drama, a bit of silhouette. I think it's really nice there. The pulled, gathered waist section, thank God her hands are covering most of it, but I can still see it, so I'm very much so not happy about it. It's just not good. I don't know why we would do that. I don't understand. Simplicity works. You have a sharp shoulder and a cape with a nice neckline. You don't have to do anything else. You know what I mean? Like, let it be about the silhouette. You don't have to add on every bell and whistle. People, come on. It's just not, it's not worth it. It wasn't worth it. It was just too much. You couldn't stop yourself. Alex Perry, I don't actually know who you are, but you couldn't stop yourself. And this is what happens. The skirt, I think had we not had the gathered pulled experience at the waist, the rest of the gown would have just been flattering and fell really nicely and we wouldn't have had a problem. But no, we had to do too much. And that's what happens is when you can't stop yourself. You have to be able to stop yourself, people. It kills otherwise a very enjoyable vibe. Next up is Nicola Coughlan, and she is wearing Christian Siriano, which honestly, I like this. I do think that this sort of black lace style is actually really fun. I like that. Nicola, not Nicola. Nicola Coughlan. Listen, I said both of them now, so we're good. Nobody judge me. But I like this sort of capelet moment going on here in this sort of black lace, and it looks like it's some sort of tulle puff moment going on. I think it adds actually a very exciting sort of style. I think it allows the waist to actually flow out and be centered there as well. I like that there's a sleeve there too. I feel like that adds a little bit more drama to it. And I like the way that this sort of over skirt flows. You know, you can see a sort of simpler little black mini skirt there that is underneath, but then this sort of big lace monstrous skirt flows out and you can see the sort of layers and piping of this tulle sort of loofah-esque fabric. And I really like it. I think it's really, really fun. I think it's a good, solid look. I think it actually utilizes proportions very, very well. I think that it makes lace not look boring and old and sort of Victorian-esque. I think that Nicola is definitely giving, you know, a little bit of a pose in a moment. And I think that's really fun. It helps to add to the entire look. I have to say, hats off, Christian Siriano. I'm proud of this. I'm saying that now. Christian Siriano, I am proud. 2020 and 2021 are changing me. It's a different place now. Next up is Nicole Kidman, and she is wearing Giorgio Armani. No, it's not good. It's not, no, I want nothing to do with it. I normally love Nicole Kidman. in Armani. Actually, I feel like there's moments where it's actually pretty good. This is not one of those moments. It's just a sheer dress with some really rancid looking embroidery all over it of like floral motifs. I just don't think it's attractive. I think the fabric is too light. I think it washes out and it's not a fun wash. I'd like to like the embroidery, but even then, I just think the color choice is not really good. I think if you had like a darker blue throughout, and I think if it was thicker and sort of had more of like a storyline to it than just flowers, you might have gotten away with it, but even then it's still risky. But overall, I just think the embroidery doesn't do what they wanted it to do. I don't think the cut of the dress is anything interesting. I think the color of this sheer fabric is not helpful whatsoever. It's blah. It's not good. It's overexposed and I'm okay. I'm good. You know, bring down the exposure a little bit, add a little bit of contrast in there, you'll be fine. Next up is Regé-Jean Page, and he's wearing Louis Vuitton and it's just blah. Listen, I'm kind of having like a blah experience now because he's not coming back for Bridgerton season 2, which is very upsetting because like he was one of the best parts of that show. The Duke. I don't know what's happening. I blame James Bond. But it's just a boring black suit, and I think that's the problem. That fall 2021 Louis Vuitton collection, which Daniel Kaluuya was wearing, like, it's chock full of good things that there's no excuse for this boring of a black suit. It's just not, like, there's no excuse. There were exciting pieces, interesting styles. There's a lot to pull from there, and anything less than that, I'm not willing to accept, especially if it's like Louis Vuitton. I don't like the shoes. I don't like the pants. I don't like the blazer. I don't like the black shirt underneath. I really don't like it because, again, something exciting should have come out of this, and like, this is not exciting. This is not good. This is not interesting. I wouldn't even look at it if it wasn't for him. I expect so much more from Regé-Jean Page. Next up is Riz Ahmed, and he is also wearing Louis Vuitton. And see, this is my thing. This is not some exciting, exhilarating look from Louis Vuitton, but at least it like pays homage to the brand a little bit. You have an orange pant and shirt, which to me are definitely reminiscent of the new Louis Vuitton color. You know, the bags are in that like bright orange with the blue on them. I'm not really sure the history of that and why that's a thing, but it's a thing. But that's what that reminds me of, and so like instantly I can tie it into Louis Vuitton. It like makes a lot of sense. I think the brown is really, really nice. I think it works well together with the look. Brown is an iconic sort of Louis Vuitton color. I mean, the monogram, you know, the monogram, it's brown's sort of big there. And I think that works together really, really well. I will say the shoes, black shoes with a brown suit jacket. I don't understand what was the reason there. Why can't we just get a matching brown shoe? You know what I mean? Kind of makes all sense, you know? It's matchy-matchy. Matchy-matchy. It's not a crime to matchy-matchy, you know what I mean? Overall, it's nothing crazy, it's nothing over the top, it's nothing ridiculous, but it does have a nice little nod to Louis Vuitton history, and so like, if it's gonna be a boring ass suit, at least make it somewhat historically interesting, I guess. Next up is Steven Yeun, and he is wearing Dunhill, and now, the last time I talked about Steven Yeun, I had not seen Minari. I've now seen Minari. I've also now seen the Amazon Prime show Invincible. So I'm 2 for 2 on Steven Yeun. So now I can be annoyed at this boring ass look. It's a Dunhill suit. It's not really interesting. It's not really exciting. It's a black sort of loose blazer with some sort of silver shirt or gold shirt underneath, a black pant, and a black sort of combat-esque boot. Listen, I want exciting, I want interesting, I want more. I want something that means something. Listen, last time he wore Prada, so why can't we wear an interesting Prada look from the most recent menswear collection? Why can't we wear a Prada look from that resort collection that Misha Prada did before her and Raf Simons started together? Because like, those were nice suits. That was interesting, that was fun, that was different. This is just boring to me. And I've seen Minari, I know. Now I'm like in it with Steven Yeun. I have it. I paid the $20, so I want a return on my investment of a good ass look, because it's a good role, so it deserves a very good fashion storyline to help you get into that role. You know what I mean? Listen, I'm gonna use this as an example. Lady Gaga wanted to get an Oscar for A Star Is Born, I'm sure. And so what she did is she had fashion moment after moment after moment, because that helps you build momentum so that everybody knows, oh my God, they're turning it out. Oh my God, this is so amazing. Oh my God, they better win the award. That's what this is about. Utilize this as a way to help you build momentum so that everybody's talking about you all the time. Oh my God, Steven Yeun, he wore that crazy look. It was so amazing. That's what we need. That's what we want. That's what needs to go on here. So there's no more excuses, because I'm in. I've done it. I've done my jobs. I've watched. So now Steven Yeun needs to deliver so that we're even Stevens. You know what I mean? I want to be even Steven with even Steven Yeun. Next up is Vanessa Kirby, and she is wearing Givenchy. Now, it's a separate moment, which listen, credit where credit is due. Givenchy liked to separate. That was his thing. I'm okay with that. So you have a sort of black bra or black sort of top, bikini top style. And then you have a black sort of column high-waisted skirt with a slit of some kind. Over the bra is a sort of silver cage turtleneck moment going on here, but it's sheer, which like, I guess it's interesting. It's there. I won't say it's revolutionary or crazy or whatever, but I do see like the Givenchy sort of separate moment, and so like that I can appreciate, but at the same time it's nothing crazy, it's nothing spectacular, it's nothing really that wonderful, and adding the crystal sort of turtleneck halter crop top thing doesn't really help me in any way. So Givenchy, step it up a little bit more in that regard. Finally, we have Viola Davis, and she is wearing Louis Vuitton. Now, this is very sort of 80s feeling style from Nicolas Ghesquière. It's a neon green dress, and it has sort of like Space Invader shoulders to me. They're very sharp, they're very futuristic, they have a very sort of like 60s but done in the 1980s sort of feel to me. It's like space age couture meets the 1980s sort of feel, and then silver embroidery sort of falls all the way down the side and sort of like pipes and sculpts the green aspect of the dress, which I'm sure sort of helps to like give more of a silhouette and a sort of more of like an hourglass figure to Viola Davis. But it's not my favorite Viola Davis look that I've seen thus far. I've seen definitely much more interesting ones, and also I'm pretty positive that recently like the Louis Vuitton custom dresses have been really, really interesting. I'm not really understanding what this is like going for. You know what I mean? Like they've been pretty cool, pretty good. There are elements of this that I do enjoy. I really do like the shoulders. I do think they're definitely like armor-esque. I like the green. I think it's definitely like dramatic. I think it's definitely in your face. I think it definitely pops off of Viola, but the silver I don't think really adds in the way that they really wanted it to. And besides the sort of cut of the shoulders and the green, it's not anything to really write home about. So I want better for Louis Vuitton, and I'm willing to let this go for Viola because like she's been delivering look after look. So like I will handle this accordingly. That is the end of today's video. So let's get into our best dressed and worst dressed. Best dressed. I'm giving it to Catherine O'Hara. I really like the Thom Browne look. I think it adds to the Moira Rose storyline. I think it's a really great play on Thom Browne's sort of work, and at the same time adds a more sort of feminine, high fashion gown, red carpet sort of feel all together, while also encompassing like workwear classics like waistcoats, but also bringing in like corseted sort of corset. Like I thought it was very deep, had a lot of layers to it. That I'm into. Worst dress. I'm just gonna go for Gillian Anderson because she wore Dolce & Gabbana. That's worst dress. That's not, no, done. You're out, you're done. And go back to Dior. Wear Dior again. I'd rather that. I'll take the Dior over the Dolce any day. So that is the end of today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please let me know what some of your favorite looks from this red carpet were. I will see you guys in the next video, and TTYL.